I know Utah, a number of years ago, the legislature required a civics test because we had moved away from, even when you and I were growing up, where you actually had to learn some of these things. There was a season of education where there was no learning in the civics process and how to be civically engaged and what government is. We're now moving back that way. We probably need to move back that way a little bit more because citizenship requires understanding of what the basic rules are and what the basic process of engagement is. And that's how you have a seat at the table. Keep in mind, the federal government was created by the states, not the other way around. And the states are there to serve the people. We are the sovereign. We're the individuals that under our system of government have the power and authority that we then defer to the states and then to the federal government. But if we never teach people how to be a part of that, then it becomes very easy to just be sheep in the process.
So I can see how, okay, the civic, I think I love the idea of the civics, especially with the younger generations in the schools and things like that. Making that a requirement, I can see how there's a lot of this, a perspective of, it's like, is that really is that the most important thing for kids to learn in schools and spending our money on that? There's lots of debate here. My other thought was, and this is something I keep seeing as well, is what happened to the party as an institution, right? So like, I couldn't help but think, why does the party not have a location in Washington County that they can meet with all of their delegates all in one time that they don't have to pay for every single time? Why did the party never invest in or get a donation from an individual to say, hey, this is the location that you guys can meet every time, you don't have to pay for it? It's funny to me. It seems like the Republican Party has these, we make short-term decisions instead of looking at the long frame. And the party as a whole, back to those civics things, it's extracurricular activities, education for the general public, not just kids, but what about Californians that move here from somewhere else? Where it's like, well, I'm not going to go back to school and learn this, but where do I go to learn about Utah government? Right? There's not. But the party seems like this is a great format of spending money rather than spending it on your presidential candidate's legal fees. I feel like you could, and that's my opinion, but the party as a whole, if you're gonna raise money within the party, why isn't there more money going towards the infrastructure of saying, hey, the Republican Party, we believe in this, we got a 1,000-year view on this. What are the essential things that can keep us going, keep educating and giving tools to future citizens on how to keep this process alive? It seems like we haven't done that.
Wholeheartedly agree. And it's a delicate balance. And it's one of those interesting things because as you're raising money for the party, you have the immediate short-term gains that it's talking about the issue of the day. It's advancing the candidate of the day. Certainly right now we're supporting our convention candidates enthusiastically, but that is an immediate moment, right? It's a snapshot in history. Then you have the long-term play, which is literally talked about and thought about in years, if not decades. I'm of the opinion the Republican Party's success this year is important, but I care more about multiple decades of success of the Republican Party in order to keep Utah the place that I want my kids and grandkids someday to thrive in.
Right.
That requires investment.
Be equipped to, in sometimes when we all lose our mind, like as we have in the recent memory,
just be steady to focus.
We need to have steady focus and steady fundamentals. So what I know the party, at least in Utah, was they had a lot of debt. There was some mismanagement of money, and that has just in recent years finally been, rectified.
Yeah. So what I would say on the money front, you had, and it wasn't so much a mismanagement, though there may have been some of that at times. The biggest thing was when there was that divide that occurred between the caucus path and the signature path to access the primary ballot. A number of traditional donors to the party decided to take a step back because the party was engaged in lawsuits. And they said, and I might disagree with them, but I can appreciate the fact that some of these folks thought, I don't want my money going to a lawsuit. Okay, I can appreciate that. That put us into a place where we were a few $100,000 in debt. Derek Brown, he's a candidate for Attorney General. He was the state party chairman. When he came in a few years ago, they were, I want to say, $390 or so $1,000 in debt. I came on as the vice chair a couple months later when there was a vacancy.
And then there was a treasurer position that was elected. It was really key in that as well, I think, too, or I thought I read something about
it's a team effort.
Like the team,
and so, when Derek was chair, I was vice chair. Mike Bird, who's a candidate for the legislature, he was the treasurer. You had that debt, we were able to retire that debt. And then after Derek, you had Carson Jorgensen as the party chair, and he did a good job. When I came on as party chair, there was no debt. So he didn't go backwards. He kept building from there. We didn't have a ton of resources when I came in as party chair, but again, kudos to Carson. He was able to help elect a bunch of good Republicans without going in debt. One of the things that I wanted to do when I took over last year as party chair was to start making those investments for the long-term success of the party, what you're talking about. Why don't we have some of this infrastructure in place to help our candidates, to promote our causes and our principles, to educate the masses, young people, new move-ins, everybody else on what Republicans believe. So we needed to start build that and laying that out. And so I'll tell you, over the last year, we've raised over $900,000 and we've begun to make those investments in long-term systems and strategies that will be successful, not just right now for our convention nominees and not just this year for this election, but into the aggregate of a long-term plan of success so that, again, Utah, Washington County, Salt Lake County can be places that we all can thrive in and want our kids to grow up in, not just today, not just 5 years from now, but 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I think that continual investment needs to happen. But there is that natural pull. Sometimes you can feel like the battle today is so important. It's like, what's that whole...
It's just weird where the Republican Party, Brad Wilson calls it the ruby red state, where it's like, we are the conservative stronghold for the nation. And why are we fighting so hard in these elections? Why are we spending so much money fighting each other? Why are we battling it out versus, signatures versus non-signatures? We spend so much time fighting within the Republican Party that the Democrats are over here laughing. Truthfully, they're laughing. They call us the dumb party. Yeah, they do. And I'm like, I can't argue with them.
One pushback that I would have against their laughter from the sidelines is, hey, don't stop laughing. Keep laughing and being irrelevant on the sidelines as the Republican Party continues to win. But I agree, that whole adage of, I think it was the Vikings, they would burn down the ships. So there was no retreat. I think sometimes Republicans look at it, it's like, okay, let's burn the ships. Okay, if this really is the moment to burn the ships, let's burn the ships. But it can't be the moment to burn the ships every 3 months and every 6 months. And yet sometimes that's the behavior. It's like, no, like this is the final straw. This is our Alamo moment.
If this Republican gets in, the whole state's going to hell. That's honestly how it feels. It's just, I kind of break it down. Is there a lack of leadership? And I'm not challenging you as the leader of the Republican Party, but because we empower each precinct, we go all the way down the county leadership, the national government, the national party expects the state expects the county expects the precinct. Is it because we just have a lack of leadership in all of those places? Do you think that's part of the problem?
I think there's an element to that, but I also think there's a misunderstanding that far too many Americans have nationally, and certainly here in Utah, far too many Utahns have, and Republican Utahns especially is what I'll talk to. And the best way I can lay the groundwork for this is there's things that I have authority to do as the party chairman for the state. But what's interesting is most of the criticism that comes my way, I don't have the authority to do what they want me to do, whether it's good or bad. It's just, that's not the role of the party chair, or that's more a question for the government or your mayor or your legislator or your county party. Because keep in mind, there's 29 Republican parties on the county level, one state party. They are not subservient to me. I don't get to make decisions for them. We are a collaborative group, and those 29 are kind of under the umbrella of the state party, but they still have their own autonomy and independence. And so that creates this space where there's expectations that are impossible to be met. People expect the state party to do X or the county party to do Y. And that's just not the role of the party. And so what I would challenge folks to kind of flip the narrative of is, instead of deferring to somebody else what needs to be done, ask yourself, what can you do?